The Super Mario RPG. Considered an absolute cult classic by both Nintendo fans and Square Enix fans. While I consider myself mostly part of the latter, there is one thing that separates me from most other Square enjoyers. I wasn't around during the 90s, the golden era of
Squaresoft!
I'm only in my 20s, so the game experiences I grew up with were all experiences on the PlayStation 2 and onwards. So I discovered Square Enix and the amazing world of JRPGs much later on than most. But while I mainly grew up with action games, as I got more and more into gaming as a hobby, I came to appreciate how it used to work in the old days, with turn-based combat and the more simple presentation of the time. So when Nintendo announced they were remaking Super Mario RPG, a widely loved collaboration between Square Enix and Nintendo, of course I knew I had to play it. The premise of an old school Final Fantasy type RPG set in the Mario world with Mario characters I do find a bit of a strange one, but I'm sure this weird collaboration was a weird sight as well for Nintendo and Squaresoft fans in the 90s. But now after playing it myself, I can see why it's such a cult classic. They brought these two very different worlds together perfectly. The world of Mario has the same colorful Nintendo charm as all other Mario games, despite the gameplay and story presentation being transformed into a Squaresoft turn-based RPG. The many places you visit, the colorful characters you meet, the funny and goofy moments still shine today, probably as much as they did in 1996. This game is such a vibe to play through, that unique Nintendo identity, but with that added Squaresoft goofiness. It just worked out perfectly. And the way the visuals have been modernized into a 2023 game definitely kept the Nintendo charm of the original. It looks gorgeous. On top of that, during certain moments I genuinely laughed out loud. Honestly, I'm kinda surprised by how creatively written this game is during certain parts. You can so clearly see Squaresoft involvement in it all. Booster is the best character in the Mario universe. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Anyway, the amazing atmosphere, the oh so charming world of this game is definitely also aided by the music. And it's truly spectacular. One of the best soundtracks I have heard all year. And how can it not be? It's composed by the Queen of Violence herself, Yoko Shimomura, known for her work on Kingdom Hearts. The original soundtrack was already incredible, from what I heard. Hell, it's one of the main reasons I wanted to try this remake. But the fully remade soundtrack for the game is definitely equally as good. Aside from the remade music in the game, Nintendo kept the remake quite simple, just upping the graphics and animations and sound, but keeping the core completely the same as the original. And I think that was the perfect move. The charm of this classic RPG just would have been so easily lost if they did a full-on remake like Final Fantasy VII, for example. Simplicity in its games is what makes Nintendo Nintendo. When it comes to combat, the game is yet again more proof that turn-based combat can still be fun. Not everything has to be real-time action. And I'm so happy they decided to keep that core combat the same as the original, and only add some real-time touches to it in order to modernize it and keep it more engaging. The turn-based combat of Super Mario RPG is simpler than the combat of Final Fantasy, for example. It makes it more accessible for everyone, more simple, which of course in turn fits Nintendo. And the game is also much shorter than other Square RPGs, clocking in at around 15 hours. So the result is that the combat never really bored me. Not at all, regardless of its simplicity. The real-time commands that have been integrated in the combat in this remake definitely helped keep the game engaging. Alongside that, there were also lots and lots of mini-games in this game, adding not only more fun to the game but also that variety in gameplay, which I can always appreciate. So in the end, even for gamers that don't have that nostalgia, I recommend this game. To me, it was even worth that €60 price tag. Is it worth that for you? Well, that depends on how you measure value. I personally think the €1 for 1 hour of playtime argument is stupid. I'd rather pay 60 for a shorter but streamlined game than pay 60 for a bloated 100-hour RPG with repetitive gameplay that just drags on for the sake of dragging on. But I don't judge anyone for thinking that $60 is too expensive for a 15-hour game. It's just that I personally don't really care. This game is fun, so if a game is fun, it's worth the price for me. In the end, it's a big recommend. If you are a fan of RPGs, you should definitely check it out. Now or later. So that was it for the video. I knew this game was gonna be a fun ride for me, but it ended up being even better than I expected. But now that it's over, I'm off to play a completely different type of RPG. Baldur's Gate 3. It's finally time to make my way through that behemoth of a game next. But before I go, what are your thoughts on this classic Nintendo game? Did you play it yet? Did you play it when you were younger, or is the remake your first introduction to it? Leave a comment down below. I love engaging with you guys. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and catch you all in the next video.